Well, motherfuckers, I saw Rogue One in theaters for a second time, so I'm gonna do a second review on it, a second look at the movie. So, I saw the movie again, and I loved it again. And this is usually how it is with Star Wars for me. I always go back, and I'm always like, well, maybe the fandom and the hype is just what made me so excited for the film, and it kind of blinded me to anything that was negative or bad in the movie. Because, as you guys know, I'm pretty damn good at picking up flaws in films. So, I'm going to take a look at it again. As far as the characters go, I like the characters. Yes, I will have to say that they're not as memorable as those in, the main storyline of Star Wars. They're... the thing is, what I was trying to think is, who do I like better? Do I like Jin or do I like Rey? And I'm still going to have to say that I like Rey better. I still like Jin a lot, but, it's not like Rey is, all the way up here and Jin's down here. I'd say, just a little bit that Rey edges her out. And it's not just because she's in Force Awakens and Jin is just in Rogue One. I just think that maybe she was a bit more charming, Rey. But, you could really then compare, is Ren, is he better than Cassian? And that is, I like Cassian. I like his accent. I kind of just liked him, I liked these characters. I did. I liked them. Are they super memorable? No. K2SO, he was a really good droid for what he was for the comic relief. This was a darker film. So, he fit in really well. I still like the jokes that they put in there. Some of them made me laugh again. Not all of them. I think I pretty much laughed at all the jokes last time. This time I only laughed at some of them, but that's because I just heard them 2 fucking weeks ago. And, I don't think I really mentioned this, but director Krennic, I really liked him. I liked him as being one of the main villains here. Once again, I gotta really also say, when it comes to Governor Tarkin, I think that he looked good in this movie. People are making like he was all the way out in the open. No, if you notice when they shot him, there was always a shadow on him. He was always in a dark space. And, it wasn't like he was in this movie a lot. I've been watching some reviews on here, and he was really not in this movie a lot, as some people would have you believe. If you haven't seen the movie yet, I'm just going to tell you, he's not in it. Don't listen. I just want to understand, sometimes, I don't know what kind of internal clock people have. It wasn't a lot. It's like people that say that Jar Jar Binks, it was basically in every single frame of Episode 1. It's just not true. A lot of people will like to say that to further their argument, to prove that it's, that Episode 1 was a bad movie. But Tarkin, first of all, Tarkin, I think, looks good. This is about, I think, as convincing as CGI is going to get. Now, I do agree with James Rolfe, the AVGN, who did a review, and he says, CGI is never going to be pitch perfect. And that's kind of true, because sometimes CGI looks worse, in certain modern movies, than it did when it was first introduced. It's all about using it to the best of your ability and where to insert it and when not to insert it into certain key scenes. And, you have to know how to really implement CGI in such a way where it is not distracting to the viewer. I didn't really think it was that distracting at all. I really didn't, and I know a lot of people are just going to say that I sound completely absurd saying that. But they shot Tarkin's scene in dark parts on the Death Star, So it's not like he was wide out in the open and you could see this big, bright CGI face. No, they did it in a skillful way where you were like, oh shit, is he like... And it was like, what I liked, it was done in a very, very creepy way. Where it was like, this guy was so evil, so menacing. You know, this was a guy that he knew that the Death Star was going to blow up in A New Hope. And he was so cold that he just stood there. And he knew the end was coming. And he stayed so calm. And, you know, you just sense that this guy just was cold-blooded. And then when he turns around from that window and you see that face again of somebody, you know, in the Star Wars universe that perished and someone in real life that perished, and it's amazing. It really is. This is one of the few times where I really looked at the CGI and I was like, this is pretty good. I'm enjoying this. And this is coming from somebody who, well, I've said for years that I don't like CGI. I even check out my video. I just put out a video talking about how I feel about CGI, some of my favorite CGI moments, and some of my least favorite CGI moments. So watch that video if you really want to know how I feel about it. I have, well, I can't really say a love-hate relationship. I really dislike it. I think it has ruined a lot of things for movies. For example, during Christmas, I was watching a lot of Christmas films. More than previous years, I was feeling the holiday spirit. And I was watching A Christmas Carol. And, you know, when the ghost of Christmas Past takes Ebenezer Scrooge and starts flying with him, I was like, for 1938, this looked pretty fucking good. They did what they had to do. They used trick photography, as they would call it. You know, they propped them up with strings or whatever they had to do. And it looked pretty fucking convincing. It looked good for the time. They shot it in such a way. I was impressed. For a film from 1938, I was like, they did a damn good job of conveying fantasy to the audience and just showing that, like, wow, these people were flying. And, you know, it was something that you really didn't get to see. And, you know, that's kind of what I really miss in films, where everything was man-made. It was more about tricking the audience, making them believe that they were in this fantasy world. With CGI now, it's just about making things more realistic, but actually making things look more fake in the same breath. So I really did like the Tarkin CGI, and I'm going to be one of those guys here on YouTube that's going to defend it to the bitter fucking end. So yeah, I really did enjoy this film. There was a lot of stuff to like about this film. I think very, very little to dislike. I don't know. So I was watching, you know, just comparing, just to give you some specific names. You know, that you know, Doug from the Nostalgia Critic was saying that there wasn't a lot of emotion shown for Jin when her father died, and you know, I think that there was a fair amount. She hadn't seen him in fucking years. People have to understand. So, you know, people who haven't seen loved ones in years, it was the same thing with the Forrest Whitaker character. She didn't really cry. You could see that she was unsettled and upset. But, you know, for people she's seen for years, she's upset, but she's not gonna really be bawling tears. She hasn't seen them since she's a little girl. You know, her father, she saw the Forrest Whitaker character when she was 15, she says. So, you know, I don't know, she's not going to be crying her fucking eyes out. You know, so I enjoyed the film for what it was. There was a lot of people who were really loving this movie. I think really the person that I'm most on par with here on YouTube is probably Angry Joe. who I think he's the one who gets it about this film. He understands that this movie was supposed to be a dark war film. This was more to be Star Wars. We've got to see a lot of fucking space battles. We got to see the fucking Star Destroyer, go into the other one and fucking destroy the shield generator. I mean, there's some epic shit here. There's some great land battles. Donnie Yen from Ip Man. I never knew if it was IP Man or Ip Man, but he's like a martial arts legend, and we get to see him in action here. He's a blind. It's kind of unclear if the Force does help him to a certain extent, but he's not a Jedi. He doesn't have a lightsaber. But I kind of liked where he walked that thin line between Jedi and just normal guy. He was one of the more enjoyable characters. So when he actually, dies in this film, it's it's pretty heartfelt. And that's the other thing that a lot of people are having problems with in this movie. The fact that just about everybody fucking dies at the end. I really don't have a problem with this. I don't know if I mentioned this in my first review, so I want to apologize if I'm being repetitive, if I'm repeating myself. But the fact that these characters were not in A New Hope, that everybody just goes away conveniently, and we don't hear from any of these heroes of the Rebel Alliance, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to keep them around. So, yeah, I'm on board with killing them all off in the end. It also has a different feel to this movie. They like to say that The Empire Strikes Back is the darkest film in Star Wars, but this one kind of eclipses it. Because everybody fucking dies in the end, right? So, the thing is, I think they wanted to supersede that. They really did. And you could see a lot of Empire Strikes Back influence in this movie. We even see fucking AT-ATs. So, I think that set the tone. This is Star Wars. There's going to be casualty of wars. See, because nobody died at the end of Empire Strikes Back, yet it was considered to be such a dark film. No major characters, anyway. So, it makes a lot of sense to have Rogue One end this way. We have a dark film. We're gonna, that is something that sticks with you. Whether you know it is the movie that everybody dies at the end or not, you know that you've witnessed a film that is darker in tone, much noticeably more darker. So that was something that I really liked about this film. I liked the ending. I thought it was really powerful, and it did what it set out to accomplish mostly. So there you go, guys. Those are my second look thoughts and review. I think it's a great film. If you haven't seen it and you're a little bit standoffish about seeing this movie because, well, it's not part of the main storyline. Films. It's not one of the episodes. And yes, it still does bother me that this doesn't have a title crawl. I know they said Kathleen Kennedy said that they were going to save that for the main Star Wars movies, but when you don't have a crawl, to me it shows me that it's just that. This is a side story. We don't want to give it a crawl. The thing is, the whole basis of the crawl is to give you a little bit of a backstory to what's going on before you see the film. Just like Flash Gordon. What happened last time with Flash Gordon, and they had the crawl, right? So why can't they give us a little crawl and tell us about, Galen Orso and, and Jin, and talk a little bit about how they ended up on that planet. Tell us a little bit about the Death Star. Tell us why it's so much of a threat. Just fucking write it. Would have that been so hard? I mean, is the crawl really that fucking special? Ooh, the crawl is so special, we could only save it for the episodes. I mean, that's a little bit fucking silly, if that really is the real reason that Kathleen Kennedy gave. How hard is it to fucking give a crawl? It's Star Wars, therefore, it deserves a fucking crawl! You know, even the fucking Clone Wars movie got a fucking crawl. Now, I know this is a different age. This is the Disney age of Star Wars. I mean, like I said, it's not that big of a deal, but still, it would have been nice to have a crawl. But a minor complaint. Anyway, guys, an excellent film. I really fucking enjoyed it quite a bit. And yeah, I guess a total recommendation. So there you go, guys. After 2 reviews, if you're still not convinced, I don't know what to tell you. I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to see this. If you're an action movie fan, you're going to go see this. You know, I don't know. If you're on the ropes about this, I really don't know what to tell you. You can't be that crazy about Star Wars if you're on the fence about seeing this. It really is really fucking good. It's enjoyable. It definitely... You know, we knew right from the start that people were not going to like this movie due to the fact that it didn't have the main characters that we're familiar with, or the new main characters that we're familiar with now. If I had to pick a favorite scene from this movie, like I said, I'm not sure if I did this in my first review, but it is definitely at the end with Darth Vader. That fucking scene where there's just complete darkness in that little hallway on that ship, and he just, you see the lightsaber, and he just mauls everybody. They're screaming for their lives. I got chills twice from that fucking scene. For Star Wars fans, that is everything right there, to finally fucking get to see Vader like that. We never really got to see Vader like that before. And yes, I agree with what certain people are saying here on the internet and on YouTube. James Earl Jones, and it was mostly Angry Joe who said this, James Earl Jones, because I don't want to take credit for it, should record as many possible lines of dialogue as he can. Now, my dad was saying, because I saw the film with him, he was saying that, oh, well, they could just get an impersonator. No. It needs to be James Earl Jones. Get an idea of what you'd like him to say in the Darth Vader movie. This is what I'm getting at. Darth Vader movie. Darth Vader movie. That's what people want to see. Just like the Han Solo movie. I heard that the Boba Fett movie has been canceled. Okay, so it's been canceled. You guys know I like Boba Fett. I always wear the shirt of him in a lot of these videos. But, Darth Vader. If this is the perfect opportunity here. If you're not going to give Boba Fett a movie, give it to fucking Darth Vader. He's the most iconic of all the Star Wars characters. I mean, yeah, the villain, he is more popular than Luke Skywalker or Han Solo. The guy's image is everywhere. What is it that sells in the toy stores? Is it the voice-changing Luke Skywalker helmet? No, it's the fucking Darth Vader voice-changing helmet. Darth Vader is one of the most iconic individuals in film. Characters, supervillains, whatever you want to call it. He deserves a movie of his very own. And, yeah, I would definitely like to see that happen. Alright, guys. So, go see the fucking movie, for Christ's fucking sake.